My dad was diagnosed with cancer like 2 months before I was. It was a crazy time because then I had a really, really close friend of mine who was also diagnosed with cancer within that 2 months span too. My dad had one of the most beautiful deaths that anybody could ever ask for. And I'll tell you why in terms of that whole positivity piece. Mm-hmm. So he'd been suffering, and during his chemo, he was kind of my idol. During his chemo bout, I had my surgery, but he was doing this in 2016 and he ultimately passed away in 2017. But during 2016, what he found was during chemo, they would give him steroids. And when they gave him the steroids, he felt amazing for about a 4-day span. So him and my mom would quickly book a trip based on that and go out for the 4 days, but make sure they were home so that he could just crash and everything like that. And so they awesome. Traveled, I think they did Hawaii. They went out in the mountains. They did all kinds of Canada, Mexico, which was one of their favorite places. So finally when things got really bad, right? He'd gone to the oncologist and they were like, it's hospice time. You know what I mean? Wow. Like this is really bad. So apparently, and my dad was an iron worker, the big tough, and I always wanted his arms. He had these big badass arms.
Iron worker tough.
Shoulders, and then of course the big beer belly, But my mom said that they were walking out, and it was hard for me to see him like this. He had a walker, and he was walking to the car, and he muttered to my mom, "Book a trip to Puerto Vallarta." And that was their favorite place. And they had just been told that now the tumors were just ravaged everything: pancreas, spine, his intestines, it was everywhere. Mm. And so my mom called me. She's like, upset. What do I do? And I was like, fuck, let him die. If he's going to die, let him go out on the beach. Yeah. Right. So my mom said that, they booked the trip. They barely could get him on the plane, because he was in pretty bad shape. And they got to Puerto Vallarta, but the minute he got to Puerto Vallarta, suddenly, bam, something went on, and he had energy, and he was having a great time, and he was,
positive.
Yeah. So there's something in the mind that happened where they booked a week long trip to Puerto Vallarta, and for probably about half the time, half the time he was there, he was back. Right.
Awesome.
Drinking Coronas and having a good time and all that kind of stuff. And they met, this one couple one of my dad's closest friends came out and flew out to visit him. And then they got back and my mom had to call me. I had to race up to Grass Valley because my dad couldn't even get out of the car when they got back from the trip. And then he passed away 2 days later.
He went out how he wanted.
Exactly though. But like how great. Amazing. Who gets that? You know what I mean? Like who finds out that, hey, the end is imminent, gets to go.
Let's go to Puerto Vallarta.
Let's go to Puerto Vallarta.
That's great.